Who do you want to be? If somebody was to describe you, what would you want them to say about you? What would some of those words be?
After today's talk, I just feel very inspired. I feel invigorated, and I definitely have a renewed sense of wanting to go into the classroom and try some of the things that she talked about.
Anyone want to take a quick guess as to why he called 2007 an inflection point? iPhone. But it wasn't just the iPhone that was launched that year. That year, we saw so many emerging technologies come to play that today, honestly, we probably couldn't even imagine our lives without, right? Even if you look at some of the social media platforms that were emerging, things like Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, 3G, which is such old technology now, but all of those things were emerging at that time. Yet, just a few months later, we would enter a recession. And so what's always been so fascinating to me as I look back on that time now is while some people were creating new products and services and building these new companies and businesses and thriving financially, socially, from a purpose perspective, other people were struggling to adapt to a world that had completely shifted because of technology. And one of the things that I reflect on often when I think back to that period, which is a lot of similarities to kind of what we're seeing and experiencing today, is this quote by author William Gibson, where he says, "The future is here. It just isn't evenly distributed."
After today's talk, I feel looking into more of the technologies that are more available. She talked about how in 2007 there was more emerging technologies, and against getting the feeling that there's now going to be a new wave of technologies. So trying to be on top of that and see how we can use that to make teaching much easier and just spending more time actually teaching versus all the small detail stuff that needs to be done to run a classroom.
What makes you indispensable? One of the things he talks about in the book is how in today's world of work, it's not enough to just show up, go to school, get good grades, get a job, and think that you're going to be okay and have stability in your life. The only thing that can keep you relevant is having a strong understanding of what makes you unique.
So my favorite takeaway from today was learning about Seth Godin's book. I actually ordered it while she was talking about it because the quote she presented was pretty impactful. So I was like, I want to read that book.
So often we look at technology, we look at new things that are coming about, and we think, okay, here's a new tech, what do I do with it? Here's a new device, what do I do with it? When in reality, what we should really be asking is, what can this do for me? What's one thing, just one thing, that you're really interested in trying, and one barrier that's holding you back? Love that example because to me, it's like a really classic example of like how design thinking can help you. Because so often when we think about those really big systemic challenges that we would like to shift and transform the practice in, we feel like we can't. And we feel like we can't because we're trying to create the end, the full solution, instead of just thinking about, well, what does step one of that process look like? And
yeah, I'm a big fan of design thinking, but Sabba's way of looking at it in terms of applying it to education and not just other problems was really kind of eye-opening for me and very exciting, the way that she's looking at it in classrooms. And I wrote down a lot of her questions because I want to pose them to my students.
Design thinking is not just a method or a series of steps. Design thinking is both a method and a mindset.
Today was the first day that I heard about design thinking, so it's a new concept for me. I just loved that design thinking is really about shifting a mindset. And so it's not really about adding another thing for teachers to do, but it's really more about shifting the way that you approach just learning in general, not only for yourself, but for your students. And so I'm really inspired by it, actually. I think it's definitely been a difficult year school-wise with our students. And so I think that this is a good way to think, in terms of the empathy that she spoke about. This is something that I think is really important for teachers to remember and for us to teach our students. So I just love the whole process.
Design thinking is both a method and a mindset. When you use it, we give you the steps and the structure to scaffold conversations, whether you're looking at complex challenges within your organization or whether you're looking to unlock new opportunities. We help you have conversations amongst your team that help you take ideas and insights and turn them into possibilities and realities.
But one of the most powerful things about giving people the time and space to first think about themselves, the challenges they have and the opportunities they want to pursue, and coming up with these statements, is that then they go looking for the solutions. And that is this idea that cultures of innovation begin not with devices, not with apps. They begin with empathy and people solving problems to create a better life for themselves and those around them. I feel like in a couple years from now, we'll look back and remember 2023 as yet another inflection point with the acceleration of artificial intelligence. Or how many of you in here have played with ChatGPT? Okay, awesome. Yeah, there's a lot of us. I sat down with it the other day and was really curious to take something that I already was familiar with, like this design thinking activity about Catch That Rat, and decided to say, hey, ChatGPT, I'm a teacher who just heard about design thinking. My kids are reading this book, Catch That Rat. Create a design thinking experience for me. We're going to start to see this technology be integrated into just about everything, which means the possibilities for us in getting rid of some of these things that just really drag us down are absolutely exponential. And when you pair it with design thinking strategies that give you real structure to scaffold what it is that you're trying to solve for, the possibilities and opportunities in today's world are truly endless.
So I'm familiar with design thinking as well, and I'm actually familiar with Sabba's work around it, but super inspired how she took an example from a first grade classroom, talking about thinking through solving that actual problem, and then what she did today, relating it to like using ChatGPT or AI to transform a task in a classroom. I think it's super relevant, super timely, and super meaningful for people to see the spectrum from first grade potentially to high ed, how design thinking can be transformed, not only us through a design lens or empathy lens or a problem-solving lens, but yeah, I was so inspired by what she shared today.
If you're interested in learning more, I invite you to visit designingschools.org.